Welcome back to my coverage of the GranGuanche. Now this is a guide on how to ride the event, and this video is going to cover the fifth island on the GranGuanche trail, which is Las Palmas. So there are three types of ride you can do here, or three different rides. There's the road, the gravel and the trail. Now the footage I'm using in this one is from the inaugural trail event, but it's very, very similar to the gravel on almost all islands apart from a few sections. However, the gravel finishes on a different island to the trail. So the trail finishes on Las Palmas, and the gravel finishes on, I think it's El Herrero, which is a different island. So you can find all the information there on the GranGuanche website. It's a really great website, loads of good info on there. So yeah, if you want to look into that, then have a look on there. But if you are doing the trail or you're just interested to see what it's like, because it is a fantastic island to ride your bike on, this video will help you with that. So we actually arrived, we got the last ferry from Tenerife. It's quite a long ferry, so I think we rolled into Santa Cruz about 10 p.m. And we booked a little apartment. There was three of us in the end, myself and Sofian, and then the guy called Marco met us. He was on the ferry, so we all just sort of chipped in and shared the room. And actually I think Owen caught up with us later on, and he ended up just sleeping on the floor. Accommodation is a little bit tricky, so I would highly recommend booking in advance. If you get to Tenerife and you know you're going to need to stay somewhere overnight, definitely book. So we basically started 6 a.m. first thing in the morning. The idea was to get around the volcano and then get a lift back to the ferry. Now it is worth noting at this point, when I did the edition I did, the volcano had actually erupted. All these are volcanic islands, and they get there by volcanic eruptions. So this section through here was totally cut off by lava fields. So the event finished on the other side of the hill here, and then there was a company that would pick you up and drive you through back to the ferry. I think now you can do the entire lap of the island, so it'll probably be about twice the distance, but I can't comment on that because I've not done that section. But the first half of the island is absolutely incredible. So yeah, it's well worth doing. If you're not doing the GranGuanche, I would recommend it regardless. So let's have a little bit of look at some footage and see what's going on. So we started off pretty early, as I said, and there's loads of little roads, and it's quite quiet, especially at 6 a.m. Like this is an island. There's not much going on at that time. There's a few banana plantations, so anyone you see is probably going to be going to work there. Once the ferries start arriving, you might get some touristy traffic, but it kind of comes and goes in waves, so it's nothing really to worry about. So that's along this section here, and then as you can see from the profile, I haven't got the kind of terrain on this particular trace, but it's first 10 miles pretty flat on the coast, and then you start to climb. So there's some tarmac climbs at the bottom, and we actually stopped for some breakfast in this little town, San Juan de Putalana. Putalana, that's it. Sorry, pronunciations are not my forte. So yeah, a bit of a road climb there. There's a little cafe. We've got like a bocadillo, which is like a little sandwich. One for breakfast, one for the road. You need to really stock up. Again, as I've said on all of them, stock up when you can, because there's not really any scope for resupply on this section. And you're not really on the main road that much. So yeah, this is the start of the climb, and you're going up really high again, over 2,000 meters, 2,500 meters. So again, you have to bear that in mind as you get higher. Weather conditions, it gets colder, and obviously it's a bit harder to breathe. Although by this point you've been high a number of times on Gran Canaria and Tenerife, so you should at least know what it's going to feel like. So basically the climb, you start on the road, as I said, and then you gradually kind of, it's really cool. You start, it's quite open, you're going through the plantations. Sun's just coming up. You can see kind of like it's a bit of industry down there. They're banana plantations. And this island is, whereas the others can be a bit drier, this is really quite a humid island. It's quite tropical, feels like a jungle. See Sofian and Marco, it was real nice just to ride with them and cruise up this climb. So yeah, as I said, it starts kind of quite open, and then you're kind of getting into the forest. It feels like a rainforest. You can see like all the kind of the vines and stuff hanging down. I think it had rained in the couple of days beforehand, so you can see the ground's quite wet. It wasn't too muddy, but I suspect this would get quite muddy if it was actually raining, and quite sticky. And it was super humid. You know, it was getting quite warm, especially later on during the day. So yeah, gradually climbing. As you can see, it gets more kind of jungle-like as you go further up through the altitude layers, and then eventually you kind of get into that, when you get to a certain altitude, you get into like the pine forests, and this will feel quite familiar compared to like Tenerife and Gran Canaria, and it's quite nice. And as you can see, it's not particularly technical. You could drive a four-wheel drive up here, gravel bike, or a kind of mountain bike would be fine. And you're gradually just working your way up before you intersect the road on the higher sections up here. So once you get to the road, you're still climbing, but you do start getting some really cool kind of views across the island. So yeah, this is just before the road section. As you can see, still in the pine trees, and the lower part of the road is in the pine trees. And then you're getting higher and higher, and you're kind of getting above the vegetation line now with the altitude. And even the road, you know, it's not used all that much. You can see it's not the main road around the island, so it's kind of rough and bumpy. You're probably better off on a gravel bike than a road bike on this particular island, I would have thought. And if you look to, if you were to look to your right here, you could see really cool views, and you can actually see Tenerife, the volcano in the distance. And then you've got a pretty cool descent. Kind of get an idea of the scale here. This is a little concrete road. It's quite bumpy and rough, and then as you get lower, you're kind of going onto another dirt road. It's quite a fun descent, to be honest. Would be better on a mountain bike than a gravel bike, but not really a problem on a gravel bike at all. It's not too rocky or anything like that. So yeah, quite fun. You definitely kind of earn your rewards. So that will be this section down here, which is going through here, and as you can see, it's quite twisty. This will be the sort of concrete road bit on this top bit, and then as you get into the forest, there's a really cool hairpinny descent, and then basically you're kind of like just traversing around the back of the island, so fairly high up, and there's kind of similar to Tenerife. There's kind of like a balcony road around there. So yeah, it's proper nice, and you're kind of then staying at the same kind of altitude, which is kind of in the pine forest level. So as you can see, the roads are pretty comfortable here. Myself and Marco are on kind of the sort of 2.9 drop bars. So Marco's on the Salsa Cutthroat. I'm on my Mason ISO and softening on the hardtail. And you'd be fine on a gravel bike. You can see it's pretty smooth. There's maybe a couple of sections where it's a bit looser. So if you're on a gravel bike, you would just have to be a little bit more careful where you put your tyres. But yeah, nothing too stressful. Really pleasant riding, and we knew that we were going to be done soon. So this is about 10 miles to where the track stopped because of the volcano. So yeah, happy days. And this was obviously right at the end of the event, so we were kind of fairly tired. But yeah, beautiful and spectacular, as you can see. So yeah, so that is Las Palmas. So we finished up just here because of the volcano. The track does go further around, as I said. So if you check out the GranGuanche website, that will show you the rest of it. I imagine it's probably passable through the volcano field now, but I'm not sure. But we just dropped down to the town here, to Tazacorte, and got a lift back. So yeah, that is the GranGuanche trail and gravel events. That's my guide on how to ride them. A few tips there for you, and hopefully gives you a nice little insight into what to expect if you were to take on these events. So I'd thoroughly recommend doing it. It's a brilliantly organised event. All the information on the website is fantastic. The riding's incredible. The weather's normally pretty good, especially from Northern Europe. So yeah, get out there and give it a go. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you think this is useful. Drop me some comments if you've got questions, or if there's any other routes or events you'd like a guide to. Put that in there as well, and I'll do my very best to do a guide for them if I've written it before. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.